Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in this episode of The Hypnotist, you're going to be listening to a weight loss hypnosis session that uses a metaphor of a home as a way to have a different approach to weight loss. And I've worked with many people to help them lose weight over 10 years. And what I find is that every single person I've worked with has exactly the resources they need to lose weight in one of two different locations, and quite often in both locations. So either in their past, they've had a time when they had exactly the right relationship with food and they could make great choices. So it's either in their past or it's in a different context of their life. And I was working with a client who, when they bought a home, they had no problems at all improving that home. And what they didn't do is try and improve the home. And if something went wrong, they left the home, or they never made any effort to improve the home ever again. They had a long-term vision about how they wanted their home to look like, and they would do things. They would take actions, make choices, make decisions, and have certain standards. So if you've got a nice home, there's unconscious rules that you would have. You would probably never dream of walking through your home in muddy boots, for example, and you wouldn't start throwing, let's say, things that could stain the walls or carpets or furniture. If you think of red wine, or if you think of something that could stain something, you would never dream of doing that in your home because the standard is to look after it. And this client hadn't ever made that connection with their physical body. And you can think of your physical body as the ultimate home, because you can change the physical building where you live, but you can't change your physical body in the sense of replace it for a different physical body. You can in computer games, in the metaverse, they call them skins. You can just change your outward appearance. But your genetics are your genetics, and some people use cosmetic surgery and that kind of stuff, but you can't physically change your body. So therefore, your body is your home. And the moment that she realized that there was a way of looking at her body as a home, and if she had the same standards for her body as she had with her home, she knew that it would just improve and get closer to how she wanted it to be. And I've used this kind of approach with different clients, and they have different things that they value. I remember a male client from a few years back that I worked with, and for them, the most aspirational thing in their life was a car. It was a very nice sports car. And they looked after it, they cared for it, and they gave it the best fuel, and they made sure it was well maintained. But they weren't holding their physical body to the same standard. So most people have something in their life that they have care and attention and good choices and high standards with. And if you can map those resources across your physical body, then weight loss becomes the side effect of that care and attention rather than the actual main goal. And that's really what this session is about. A lot of people do struggle with their weight, and I think we're living in a society that relentlessly markets high calorie, ultra high processed food, which happens to be very addictive. And I would say a lot of weight loss is more like a drug addiction to refined carbohydrates than it is to this myth that it is simply about willpower. And that's why hypnotherapy can really help with weight loss. So if you feel like I might be in a position to help you, there will be a link in the show notes where you can schedule that free consultation call to explore working with me. For now, though, you might get some value from this particular session. So find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be disturbed, relax and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe in that resourceful feeling of calm and relaxation. And as you exhale, feel a wonderful sense of release, as feelings of tension, stress or worries start to feel like they're leaving your body in that outward breath. And then breathe in even deeper. But imagine breathing in a wonderful feeling of resourceful relaxation. Feel it melting away any tension, any stress, any worries. And feel the release of that stress or worries, feeling like it's evaporated and leaving your body in that outward breath. So as you breathe in and breathe out, start to notice the release of tension, perhaps around your eyelids, your jaw, your neck or your shoulders. That's it. When you breathe in, feel it expand down in your diaphragm. And when you breathe out for just a few seconds longer, creating a vacuum so that the next breath in is even deeper than the one before. Breathing in relaxation, exhaling tension. And as your body relaxes, your imagination awakens. And I want you to imagine what it would be like to go back in time. I want you to observe a younger version of you, maybe 10 years ago, considering a new home. Just imagine that you're back in time, like an invisible entity observing. See that younger version of you looking around a home with a sense of potential, that you could see the home for what it was, but also what it could be. I want you to go forwards to the point in time where the home was now yours. The key was there, and you were able to know that this was your home. I want you to observe as that younger version of you explores the home, perhaps making an itinerary of all those things you wanted to change. And some of those changes needed decisions, resources, knowledge or expertise, and yet none of that put you off. You trusted implicitly that you could do what was needed to be done to create a change. So breathe in and breathe out, and feel that you're stepping into that younger version of you, exploring that home, seeing it as it was and wondering how it could be. And then imagine going the garden. And in that garden, perhaps see a garden of rubble. Maybe a garden without too many flowers or trees. And again, get a sense that you can see the future. You can see the garden evolving and changing and becoming something different. And just imagine, for some reason, on that summer's day under a blue sky, there is a comfortable chair out there in the garden. And imagine placing yourself on that comfortable chair, sinking into a state of pure relaxation. Breathe in that fresh air, feel the sunshine on your skin, and give permission to yourself to fully and deeply relax. Eyelids feeling heavier, jaw feeling loose, feeling a desire to yawn, even if it's just an imaginary yawn. That still activates the very sensations of relaxation. So as you imagine being in the garden of a home you've just bought, feeling more and more relaxed, allow your imagination to consider what it would be like to think of your physical body like a home. I want you to get a sense that a home is not a physical building. It's the emotions, the energy, the intentions. And I wonder if you can start thinking about your intentions. You're not trying to lose weight because you're not good enough. Losing weight will be the byproduct of you being kind and loving to yourself. You can't force a house to be a home. That comes from the effort you make, the time you give, and the choices you make. And I want you to feel that now is the time to treat your physical body with kindness and love and wonderful positive intentions. As you start to think that binging on junk food would be the equivalent of walking through a pristine home with wet, muddy boots, I want you to get a sense that never doing any physical activity would be like having a hole in the roof and not doing the things to repair it. I want you to get an intuitive sense. This is not about you losing weight anymore. Losing weight will just be evidence that you're willing to be more kind and loving to your physical body than you have been in the past. Some animals can change their physical being. A hermit crab can change its shell. Other animals can change where they spend their time living, but a human can't. And I want you to entertain the possibility that your physical body is your home. A home that you can't leave, but you can certainly improve. And allow your unconscious mind to feel that all of those knowledge and skills you have in making a house a home or an idea into a business will now be applied to your physical body. But first of all, let's let go of any shame, anger, or harshness from the past. So breathe in a bright, glowing white light of forgiveness. Imagine breathing it in, and then that glowing white light seeks out any trapped or suppressed emotions to release them. So breathe in that healing, forgiving white light. Allow it to melt away any anger, shame, regrets. And when they're released, feel that you're breathing them out in that outward breath. And you feel lighter, freer. And what if some of this anger, some of this hurt, some of this shame was never even yours? What if some of these emotions were you adding one and one and coming up with three? So allow all of those unresourceful emotions to be released. Feel them leaving your body. And when it feels like they're all gone, and just a feeling of peace and tranquility remains, let me know by nodding your head. And I wonder, now that those suppressed emotions have been released, how it would feel to activate the most resourceful version of you. A version of you that doesn't look at weight loss as a problem to solve or a chore to do. You look at weight loss as the consequences of certain consistent behaviors. Imagine walking around a garden and planting seeds. If you plant seeds for certain flowers, you can't guarantee they will grow, but you increase the probability. But if you're planting seeds of flowers and trees grow, that would be strange. And if in the past you've been consuming refined carbohydrates, unhealthy food, consider that what you put in manifests in your physical body, that your body keeps the score. I want you to think of your home and imagine what your home would look like if for 10 years it was never cleaned properly. When things broke or needed repairing, they were just left. If clutter was allowed to accumulate, would you be proud of that home 10 years later? I want you to get a sense that you now have all of the permission and resources you need, not to lose weight, but to treat your physical body like a priceless, valuable home. that every time you eat well, you're treating that home with kindness. That every time you exercise, you're reducing the probability that that home has damage. That every time you have fun with your physical body, that's the equivalent of you enjoying the home that you've built. There are people that have expensive homes and never spend any time in them. But a real home is the smiles and laughter inside that house. And I wonder if your unconscious mind is open to the idea of having so much fun with your physical body that the byproduct of all of that fun is that you have a healthier, slimmer, leaner body. It doesn't have to be a struggle. It can be an act of joy. And I want you to already start to imagine what you will now do differently now that you see your physical body as a valuable home. So breathe in and breathe out as you acknowledge that with every good choice you make for your health, fitness or body, you honor yourself with a loving, conscious act. That you are worthy of all the love, kindness, and care you give yourself. And that is reflected in the way you treat others. The law of the lid says, the more you love yourself, the more love you have for others. The more kindness you give yourself, the more kindness you have for others. The happier you feel, the more happiness you have to share. And the more you forgive yourself, the more you notice how easily forgiveness comes to you for others. That when they fail to meet your high expectations, you hold back that judgment and introduce empathy. As you trade old patterns of judgment and anger for appreciation and understanding. Not just for others, but for yourself too. And as you allow love to flow inward, don't be surprised if you naturally radiate warmth, kindness, and compassion outwards. That each time you choose self-care, you acknowledge that you are a priceless being, worthy of love and respect. Have a sense of pride in maintaining high standards in your life, knowing that you deserve the very best in all areas of your well-being. And I wonder if you can maintain those high standards, but trade those expectations for appreciations. To appreciate it when those high standards are met, rather than feeling annoyed or frustrated when they're not. Every time you make a healthy choice, you feel a growing sense of pride and self-worth, reinforcing your love for yourself. And by letting go of unrealistic expectations, When those expectations are left, you are inviting gratitude and appreciation for all that you are. And before long, you'll feel lighter and freer, as what was anger and shame dissolves into love, kindness, and forgiveness. Keep your physical body there in that chair in the garden and just imagine walking into the home. And imagine seeing a full-length mirror. But you stare in the full-length mirror at your current age, and in the same way that you could see a home as it was, and simultaneously how you wanted it to be, see that with your physical body. Acknowledge and appreciate who you are, but trust that through choices and habits, it can be changed. I want you to look at your face in the mirror and see someone who is valuable, someone who deserves all the love and care the world has to offer. And with every act of kindness towards yourself, your love for yourself deepens, and you feel this love spreading to those around you. Because you are choosing love over anger, growth over frustration, compassion over judgment. And each time you do, you feel more aligned with your higher self. Because it was judgment and criticism that had you throwing in the towel in the past, that if the game wasn't winnable, you didn't want to play. But with your home and your business, you never threw in the towel. I want you to think of those areas of your life that you would never quit. And in those areas, isn't the dominant emotion love and enthusiasm and positivity? And whenever you meditate or reflect, feel this empowered sense of deep peace, love, and appreciation for who you are and who you are becoming start to radiate and resonate to every cell in your body. And every time you take even a small step toward self-improvement, you perceive it as a step filled with love for the person you are and evolving to, because you are a priceless, valuable entity, and you take joy in keeping yourself in optimal condition. That you would treat your physical body as you would a valuable home. And in doing so, you unlock all of the resources already there. I want you to leave that home. Go back out into that physical body on the chair. Leave the chair. But now see the home as it is. How it's changed over 10 years. As you make the assessment that none of these things happened by accident. The changes in the home came from decisions, actions, resources, refinements. When things weren't quite right, they were changed and refined to be how you wanted them to be. And I want you to think of what your body will look like 1 year from now, with 1 year of kind, loving choices for yourself. 1 year of doing what your body needs and wants, treating yourself like a precious, valuable home. And imagine a year from now what your physical body would look like. Glowing skin, that any body fat of the past was the equivalent of unnecessary clutter in a home that just isn't there anymore. Have a sense that every loving choice you make takes you towards that future version of you. And when your unconscious can perceive that future, let me know by nodding your head. Now it's time to return, but taking that thought and all of these resources with you, and the only thing you leave behind is any of those released emotions of the past that were not serving you anyway. Keep them all away and return feeling revitalized, reinvigorated, full of self-love and worthiness as you take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes as I now count from 1 to 10 to bring you fully into the here and now. Starting to count 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.